been a while, Chris. There's been times that I've gotten in my car at a party, and then I've just woken up in my bed the next morning and I have no idea how I drove home or how I got there. My top speed down a side street was 85 miles an hour. That I can remember. I probably went faster. See, this is where it happened. Driving out one night from Kristen's house around midnight, and I was driving down Jefferson, and I decided to go to Meyer. And I go there, and I just go, do the walk around, come back out. And I noticed a buddy of mine from Kroger hanging out with the other kid I knew, Steve, and some other kid that I didn't know. And they're like, "What's up, man? What's going on?" It's like 12:30, it's like a Friday. I'm like, "Nothing. What are you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're over at the Motel 8 over on Masonic and Harper, Little Mac." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, cool." And they're like, "Yeah, you want to come party and stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Whatever, I'll fucking go." So we went there and came out there. There was like 7 or 8 people left in there, and they're all drinking Captain Morgans and fucking like Jack Daniels and stuff. So they're like, "You want some?" and shit. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I started drinking hard liquor and everything. And for some reason, Steve had to go back to his apartment complex on, that one apartment complex on the way to Meyer. I got my car. I'm like, you know what? I'll drive. So me, Chris, and Steve get in the car. So we go to Steve's house. He gets something. I don't know, probably like weed or something. And we get back in the car, and we all smoke weed in the car. And then we're about to leave, and since it's been raining, there's like a football field sized lot next to his apartment buildings. Dude, go do a lawn job over there. And I was like, what? Like, no way, like, fuck you. So I look over, and there's tons of tire tracks and shit like that, so I'm like, fuck it, fine, I'll do it. So I go over there, and I start going, and I'm just driving all over the place, and fucking mud squirting everywhere and everything. And then all of a sudden, these people start yelling at us from their building, and I'm like, oh shit. So I get out and leave, and we take a left instead of a right back to the hotel. So I'm driving in my car. We went to this park. And it's like there's curbs going up to the park. You can't drive in the park, of course. But there's like 7 or 8 kids standing there. My buddy Steve's sitting in the back. My friend Chris is in the front. And they're like, there's kids standing here. And they're like, why don't you drive through the park? And I'm like, no. They're like, and I said, no. Then I went, wait a minute. I went, watch this. And I was like, fuck it. You know what? Watch this. So I rolled down my window and I looked at the kids and I went, you want to see something cool? Watch this. I went into the park and started driving into the park all over the place. Just fucking going crazy. I'm up to like at least 30 miles an hour at this point. And there's these hills that go like this in the park. Like, let's say they're going like this. And I'm like, whoa, because I didn't see the hill. And I went up. And we went down like this and we're going like this. And I went, whoa. And I go down one of the hills and I go up. I'm like, whoa, that was awesome. Man. Then we went, boom, up on this hill. And say this is a hill. I hit my car. Holy shit! And I cracked the transmission in the bottom of the car. Stuck right here. And we hurt, it hit, and all of our heads hit. We all hit our heads, and we're like, oh shit, like we're all fucking like, oh my god. But at the time, nothing seemed to matter with my car. I'm like, we have to get the fuck out of here, but nothing's wrong with my car. And then we were going like this. We drove down, and I remember I went like this, and I went like that, and I went through this, hit this, went down through here, we went all the way, we went through the other one, so we went out into the street.
Scored 2 goals?
Yep. So, we drove back to the motel. No, we drove back to Meyer. And park in the parking lot. I'm thinking, like, someone's got to know something. We did something, like, waiting for, like, cops to follow us or something. Started up fine. Everything was normal. And then I tried to back out. And I wouldn't budge. And I'm in drive. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I'm going like this slow. And my foot is going, like, to the floor going. And finally I back out and I drive all the way to the Motel 8, just, like, flooring it. And I'm only going, like, 15 miles an hour. It's like, at this time, it's about 4:30 in the morning. So I was like, I'm going to go home. And so they're like, oh, yeah, we'll give you a ride. Steve gave me a ride. I got home, and they dropped me off in front of my house. And as they dropped me off in front of my house, they go do a fucking lawn job 3 houses away from me. Up on the curb, around the fucking fire hydrant, which I thought they were going to hit, which I was freaking out for a second, like, oh shit. Then they drove off. So I was like, fuck it, I'll go inside. Tell my dad what happened. Say that I cracked my transmission driving down Jefferson. And I'll go to bed. So I told him. He's pissed. You know, like what? 8 o'clock rolls around, my dad wakes me up. He's like, we're going to go take a look at your car, we're going to get it towed or whatever. So I'm like, okay. He's pretty cool about it, you know, but I mean, I've had like 3.5 hours of sleep. So I'm really fucking tired. We get there. And he's looking at the car and everything. And he notices that there's tons of mud and grass and a whole bunch of shit just caked underneath all the wheel wells. You know, when it hits up, all over the place. So he's looking for the transmission. He looks down and he goes, "What the fuck, Garrett?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You fucking Pete." He starts kicking the car as hard as he can. And I'm like, "Oh my God."
How would you sum it up?
Stupid. Very, very, very stupid.
At the time, though, when you were doing it, how did you feel?
I felt alive. It was great. So he gets in the fucking Silverado we drove there with, gets in the car, and takes off. He leaves me there. And I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? So I walk all the way from there to Kroger, where I work, use the phone there, call Chris Sin, he comes, picks me up, and I stay at his house for 2 months. For a month and a half. My dad had the car towed, fixed up, everything like that. And then I got the car again, actually.